Hi everyone, I'm Mohammad Zishan Anwar. I'm Senior IT Consultant in DevBrain IT Solutions. I'm recording this video series for our DevBrain IT Solutions YouTube channel. This is our first video tutorial of Angular 2 video tutorial series. In this video tutorial, I'm going to explain you reactive based or model based form approach. There are two types of model form binding approaches. The first one is template based approach and the second one is reactive or model based approach. You can use any one of them based on your decision, but usually we use template based form approach for a smaller pages and where we don't need a lot of logic on our HTML page. Whereas in a reactive or model based approach, we declare all of our properties and validation on a component, and it has several advantages over template based form approach. The first advantage is that you can declare your fields and validation on the component. The second advantage is you can create dynamic forms based on your code logic, and the third technique is you can test your validation. Let me show you the final outlook of our today's tutorial application. I'm going to create a user profile page by using reactive or model based form approach. As you can see in our profile page, we have several fields. For example, the first name, last name, address, city, country. This is just a sample application and it's a very simple form. I just want to show you the basic reactive form or model based form approach. So we are going to bind all these fields by using model based or reactive form approach. Now I'm going to explain you how I implemented this form. Let's go inside our IDE and I will explain you how I implemented this form. Before starting the demo of this application, let me mention one thing. You need some prior knowledge of Angular 2 to understand this reactive form or model based form approach. The source code of this application can be found on our blog, and the link of our blog can be found in the description. Okay, now let's go ahead and start this demo. The first component that I created for our user profile is user profile component. And here is a user profile. I put this user profile component into the user folder. As you can see here you will find the user profile component.ts. Okay. So as everyone know, the first step is to export class. We have created an export class with the name of user profile, and we implement some basic modules like Angular core for implementing the decorator component and on init method of this core class, core module. And the second one is we are using the forms. As I will explain you this form control and form group later. And I'm assuming that we are logged in inside our application, and for that I create an auth service, and you can see here the auth service, and I'm binding with some static information like first name, last name, address, city and country, and this is a static information. Actually this is a service which gets your user information, your login ID and name, and pass this service to your backend, maybe some web API server, and fetch the information and validate that information, then store that information into our current user property. And by this current user property we can know that which user is logged in, and then we can bind this information to our user profile page for editing. Let's go back to our user profile profile component. Here is our user profile component. As you can see in our web page, let me show you our web page. This is our web page. We have 5 different fields: first name, last name, address, city and country. So these are the fields we need to declare in our component. Let's go back to our component, and here we declare these fields, and they are public because we need to bind these fields to our HTML form. So we have a first name, and the type of first name is form control. The last name, address, city and country, and this form control comes from the forms module of Angular, and we have to import this form control. Okay, and now the second step is we need to include all these fields into our form, and to include these fields into our form we need to declare the public variable profile form, and the type of that form should be form group. And then at the final step, we are using ng onitor because it is a best practice to bind all your properties on ng oninit init function. So that's why we implement oninit function, and inside ng oninit function we are going to map our properties with the values. So the first name is binded with the auth service current user first name, and as I already showed you, here is our auth service, and in this auth service we have a first name, last name, address, city and country. So we are binding all this information to our form control properties. Let's go back to our user profile component. After binding all this information, we just need to add these properties into our form, and as you know that we have a form group with the name of profile form, and we just need to bind all these properties with the form group. So we have to add this first name, last name, address, city and country and bind with the property. This the first name property means the form control properties, and this should be first name, last name, address, city and country. After declaring all these properties and adding them into form group, now we should go to our HTML component and bind all these properties with our HTML form. As you can see in our user folder, we have here user profile.component.html folder. In HTML folder, the first step is we have to bind our profile form with form group on the form tag, and all of our properties, form control properties, should be bind with our input controls. As you can see here, there is a form control name, first name, and please be remember that this name, first name, should be matched with our component form group property, as you can see here with this field. So the name should be matched with our form group properties. Let's come back to component.html page. So we declare all of our form controls, first name, last name, address, city and country with form control name, and then we have declared a function with the name of same form and passing all these values to this function. And you can find this function in our user profile model, user profile component.ts. As you can see here, we are getting all the values of the form in our form values, and we are displaying these fields into the form. We can pass these fields to our auth service, and then we can update all these fields and values on our backend side. But for demo's sake, I'm just showing all these fields on our console. One last thing that should be remembered, as you know that we are working on reactive form, and the reactive form module should be declared in app module.ts. As you can see here, I have added this I imported reactive form module and then added into the import directory. So this is the must thing that we should add in our app module.ts folder. So this is the last step in our reactive forms or model binding form technique. Let's go and see how it works. If we go to our profile page, as you see by default, let me refresh this page. Okay, the page has been refreshed. As you can see that these all fields have been binded with some initial values, DevBrain, IT solution, address, and all this information is coming from our auth service that I have shown you earlier. Let me show you again. Here is the auth service, and here I binded some static fields like DevBrain, IT solutions, and these fields have been initially binding with our form controls, and you can see here in our user profile component, you can see I have binded initially with our first name, last name and address, city and country. And if we run this application into the debug mode, let me press Ctrl F12 to go inside the debug mode, and as soon as I press the save button, this information is passed to our save function in our component, and then the whole object will be shown in our console. Let me press this button, And here we go. As you can see that we have the address, city, country, first name and last name. As soon as so these are the initial binding that are coming from our auth service. Okay, as soon as we change all this information, it will be changed and passed to our save function. Let me change to debbrain, or maybe let me write it. Okay, let me write it. debbrain IT snoozer. Let me change the address. Let me do it like this. Test IT solutions, and then I'm going to change the address to Rodelheimer Landstraße. City, let me change to the Frankfurt, and Germany. As soon as I change this information, here we go. If you see, the address is Rodelheimer, city Frankfurt, country Germany, first name test, last name IT solutions. So this is the final version of our template based binding or model based binding. In my next video, I'm going to explain you how we can implement the validations in template based or model based form binding. Until then, goodbye.